Welcome back, Mama. Today we are talking about 6 things you need to know to keep your milk supply strong as a breastfeeding mama. Have you ever wondered how to keep your milk supply up? Have you struggled with a dip in milk supply, or maybe you're wanting to store a little bit extra for the future? We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about 6 things that you can start doing to help and support your milk supply. I breastfed for 13 and a half months. I know the struggles of breastfeeding. I know how hard it can be to learn as a new mom and then to continue it even when you start working. When you go back to work, when you're doing other things, when you're breastfeeding, when you're pumping, you're doing all of these things, and it can be super stressful, especially when your milk supply starts to dip or it starts to go down. That's why I want to share with you some things that you can start doing to help. Now, of course, there are things that are out of our control, and that's okay. That is okay, but we're going to focus on what is in our control, things that we can start implementing, things that we can start focusing on just to make this journey just a little bit less stressful. Grab a notebook and pen. I can't wait to share this information with you. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to the Strong and Nourished Mama podcast. If you're tired of wondering what healthy meals to make, feeling like you're running on empty, or struggling to make exercise fun and achievable, you are in the right place. I'm Val, a functional sports dietitian, prenatal and postpartum fitness coach, and a first-time mama. I've created a simple plan that lets you live healthy without strict rules, spending hours in the gym, and sacrificing delicious food while still having time for the things you love. It's time to embrace a fun, sustainable lifestyle where health is possible with a busy schedule, mama. So grab your coffee, settle in, and join me on this beautiful journey to becoming a strong and nourished mama. Let's dive in. We are going to be talking about great information to help keep your supply strong. And if you want that information directly to your inbox, join my free newsletter, because I'm going to send you everything I'm talking about in the newsletter, along with recipes to help support your milk supply and other things that you can actually use. If you would like more one-on-one support, schedule a coaching session with me. We can start with that free 15-minute consult and then go from there. But I would love to help support you on your breastfeeding journey with proper nutrition and lifestyle practices. Don't forget to share this episode with a mom friend who is currently breastfeeding. Maybe they want to breastfeed. Whatever it is, share it with them, because this information is needed. 2 of my best friends just had their babies not too long ago. One baby is almost 5 months and the other one is 1 month. And in our group chat, we were texting. We text every day, and we were talking about breastfeeding and milk supply. And they were talking about, okay, I need to figure out ways to increase my milk supply. I don't have any in the freezer, and I need to start thinking about this. And I read this and I saw this on Instagram or TikTok, and I'm going to start doing these things. So I started sharing some nutrition and lifestyle tips with them, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Let me start doing that. And they did. And they're like, oh, I've actually noticed an increase in my supply. Things have been going kind of well. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. 6 things you need to know to keep your milk supply strong. And as I mentioned, there are things that are out of our control, and we have to accept some of that, and that's okay. But these things can be super helpful. Now, when I went back to work after having my daughter, I was learning how to manage being a mom, taking care of a 5-month-old, balance home, work life. It was so stressful. And I am so grateful. I was very lucky to be able to go back part-time. So instead of going back at 40 hours, I was able to go back 25 hours a week. And I am so grateful for that. I am blessed. And then slowly increasing my hours over the course of the years. But not everyone can do that, right? Depending on the situation and work and what's needed. And so when you go back, if you have maternity leave and you go back to work full time, that is a lot, because we're trying to learn how to pump and work, and then you have to take all of your pumps and your parts and your storage containers, food, ice packs, and there are so many different things you need when you're breastfeeding and pumping and going into the office, even if you're doing it at home. It's super overwhelming. I was there. I was living it. I eventually got the hang of it and found a routine, but at first, the stress, the new environment, my milk supply dropped. It was stressful and it was hard. And then coming back home to feed my baby, That was hard because she was having a bottle all day, and that was super stressful. And it's like, oh my gosh, do I just stop breastfeeding? Do I continue? What do I do? And so these are some of the things that I really focused on and I started practicing a year ago to be able to keep my milk supply up so that I was able to continue breastfeeding, continue pumping, and also store milk in the freezer. We still have milk in the freezer. I'm almost out and I'm super grateful for that. But looking back, I had to do certain things to be able to get that. And I had to make that a priority. So what are the 6 things that we're going to talk about today? 1, supply and demand. 2, stress management. 3, hydration and electrolytes. 4, we have to eat enough energy. 5, healthy fats. And 6, supportive supplements. So let's talk about number 1. Number 1 is supply and demand. And if you have a lactation consultant, if you're breastfeeding, I totally recommend meeting with a lactation consultant. I met with mine for a year postpartum intermittently, and it was so helpful because she was able to help me with the struggles that I had when I was breastfeeding, and then the struggles that I was experiencing going back to work and then traveling and what that would look like. I really wish that I had figured out who my lactation consultant was going to be before I had my baby. I figured, oh no, it'll be fine. Like I'll have a lactation consultant in the hospital and I'll be good. I'll be able to figure it out. And after having my baby, I was in the hospital learning how to do this, and it was pretty stressful. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't take this lactation consultant at the hospital home with me. What am I going to do? Luckily, they gave me cards of local lactation consultants. I found one. I love her so much. Number 1 is what your lactation consultant is going to tell you is supply and demand. Milk supply production is based on demand. The more demand, the more supply, right? So we have to be careful, of course, that if we're breastfeeding and pumping, that we don't do so much pumping to where we get this oversupply, but enough to be able to feed your baby and store some in the freezer. That's what we want. If we don't have the demand, then your body is naturally going to stop that production. Like, oh, okay, I don't need to produce that much. And that's actually really fascinating with the body. When we need more, the body's going to produce more milk. When we need less, or when we're weaning or wanting to stop breastfeeding, our body's going to slowly stop that. Supply and demand are going to be number 1. It takes a lot of work, mama. I know, cleaning the parts, having to pump, taking the time, doing it while you're working, all of these things. But I'm sure a lactation consultant will tell you supply and demand is going to be really important. Number 2 is stress management. We have to get this at least somewhat under control as best as we can. I know that being a mom is stressful. I know that being a new mom, postpartum, breastfeeding, taking care of a human, all of these things, they are so stressful. It's overwhelming. You have high anxiety. You're worried. You're not sleeping good. There's all of these different factors coming into play that increase your stress. Why do we have to focus on stress management? When you have an increase in stress and we're not able to manage it, we're not able to keep it in control, whatever that looks like for you, that is going to decrease your milk supply. We have to focus on this. And this is because of the HPA axis, your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So your hypothalamus and your pituitary are in your brain. Your hypothalamus is going to communicate with the pituitary, and hormones oxytocin and prolactin are going to work together to be able to be released so that you can produce milk, so that it can communicate to the breast tissue, hey, we need milk, and milk can actually be produced and let down. Now, when we have stress, the hypothalamus is going to tell the pituitary, and the pituitary is going to tell the adrenals. That's where the HPA axis comes into play. And the adrenals, they sit on top of the kidneys. They are going to release cortisol because your brain perceives a threat. Even though you are not physically threatened, right? It's just you're overstimulated, you're overwhelmed, you're worried. Your body doesn't see it that way. And so your adrenals are going to release cortisol so that you can either fight or run away or freeze. This is needed for your stress response. But when we have too much cortisol, and cortisol being pumped out all of the time because we have so many of these stressors being thrown at us all at once, that is going to inhibit prolactin production. So your brain, your hypothalamus and your pituitary are not going to release prolactin, which is going to communicate to the breast tissue, hey, we need milk. So if you're stressed and then you try to feed your baby, it's probably going to take a while for that letdown to come, depending on the person. When I went back to work and I came home after work and I was like, okay, I have to feed my baby and I have to get in a good position and all of the things, I was a little stressed. It took a while for my letdown to happen. Baby started getting fussy, didn't want to latch, and started that whole vicious cycle, which I'm sure you guys are all aware of. So when we have an increase in stress and it's not controlled, we're going to have an increase in cortisol, and cortisol is going to inhibit prolactin production, which is not going to help with your letdown, and it's not going to help with milk supply. So number 1 and number 2, we may have to reach out for help. Lactation consultant, spouse, family members, or hey, you know what? The dishes can wait. I don't need to clean the dishes right now. I need to USA, I need to breathe and calm down so that I can actually focus on breastfeeding or pumping. Now, where I work, moms are scientists, moms are engineers, moms are doing all of these different things. They go back to work, they have a high workload, they're trying to pump at work and get work done while they're doing it, and they're very stressed and they're not able to produce as much as they were at home. So in that case, if possible, I know it's hard, but if possible, step away from the computer, step away from the task, put the phone aside, take some deep breaths, because that's going to activate your rest and digest nervous system instead of that stress response. And it's going to help with the increase in prolactin and therefore milk production. Let's dive into some nutrition support that we can start doing to increase our milk supply. Number 3 is hydration and electrolytes. We have to be hydrated, not only because we're 80% water, but milk is fluid. So we need fluids to create milk. We need to be hydrated to do that. As a mom, especially as a new mom and a breastfeeding mom, it is hard to stay hydrated because you are doing 1,000 tasks. You are thinking about all of the things that need to be done, and it can be hard to remember, oh yeah, I need to drink some water. Oh yeah, let me fill up my water bottle. Oh yeah, let me get my electrolytes. And it can be the end of the day and you're like, oh my gosh, I really drank any water. What the heck? I need a chug now. And then you're up all night peeing. So we have to focus. We have to create a plan. We have to create a system that's going to set us up for success so that we can stay hydrated. Now, something that I often hear from my clients is, but then I got to go pee all the time. We got to get over this. When you drink more water, you're gonna pee. Thank your kidneys. It's okay. We have to stop thinking that going to the bathroom, making a meal to feed ourselves, drinking water, getting sunlight, we have to stop thinking that these things are in the way to get our work done. Like, oh, I can't get my work done because I have to go pee, so I'm not going to drink water. And when you think about it that way, it doesn't make any sense. You're 80% water. You need to be hydrated, especially depending where you live. I live high altitude, a very dry climate, so I need a lot of water. And then when you're breastfeeding, you're going to need more water than you did when you were pregnant. So we have to set systems up to be able to set ourselves up for success to drink more water. Maybe you have a water bottle in every room. Maybe you have reminders that say, fill up water bottle, drink water. Especially when you go to work and you're in a new environment, we have to set those systems up. You have to have enough water, and you also have to have electrolytes. Electrolytes are minerals that keep you hydrated and also do 1,000 other things. Magnesium is a mineral, for example, that is needed to create ATP. ATP is energy, and we need energy for our body to function, for us to stay alive, for us to produce milk, for us to take care of the kids in the house and do all of the things. Calcium is another mineral. We need this for muscular contraction as well as other things. We also need sodium. We need potassium. And so these electrolytes, if we can supplement with them, add them to our water, we're hydrating even better with the electrolytes. It's going to help get that fluid into the cell. I personally use LMNT. I love it. It doesn't have any crap in it, doesn't have any sugar in it. It's pretty salty, but we need that sodium to be able to stay hydrated. And so staying stocked with a supplement, an electrolyte supplement that you like, that you'll use, and actually drinking the fluid. Now, if you want to try Element, if you like Element, you can get a free sample pack with your first purchase with Element when you use the link in my show notes. So be sure to check that out. Number 3 is hydration and electrolytes. We have to drink enough water. It's going to be dependent on how big you are and the activity that you're doing. The general recommendation I like to to tell breastfeeding moms is let's try to get 100 ounces a day and let's spread that throughout the day. Number 4 is enough energy. We have to eat enough because it costs energy to make and produce milk. And if we don't have enough energy and we don't have the fluid, then we're not going to be getting that milk supply. As a mom, it can be really hard to remember to eat. I know that sounds funny, but it can be really hard to remember to eat. You're doing it feels like you're doing a million tasks at once, and you're thinking of all the future tasks that you have to do, and it can be so easy to forget to eat. Maybe you go back into the office, you're super busy with work, you're like, I have to do this, I don't have time to eat. Just like with the hydration and going to the bathroom, we have to stop treating food as this problem to solve. Like, oh my gosh, I have to eat. I have to eat to stay alive and to function and to be healthy and to think and get the work done and to create my milk for my baby. We have to make these things a priority. And if you need to set reminders and alarms, that's going to be super helpful. So you have to eat enough calories. We have what's called our RMR, our resting metabolic rate. This is the amount of energy you need to sit on the couch and breathe and stay alive. Now, as a mom, you're not sitting on the couch, Netflix and chilling every day, all day long, right? You're running around the house like a crazy woman. We have to add energy on top of that, activities of daily living. And we have increased energy needs when we're postpartum. We actually need more energy than when we were pregnant. And when you were breastfeeding, you need even more energy. So your calorie needs go up. So if your calorie needs are, let's say, 2,500 calories a day to be able to produce milk, to be able to recover postpartum, to be able to maintain your muscle mass and walk around the house and do laundry and clean and walk and all of the things that you're doing, if that is 2,500 calories, you need 2,500 calories a day, and you're only getting 1,500 calories, that is 1,000 calorie deficit. Your body's going to say, okay, Chica is not giving me enough. I got to hold on to my fat because I don't know when I'm going to eat next. Let's burn muscle for energy. It's the easiest way to go, right? That's what your brain is thinking. Even though you can get food at any single time, that is what the brain is thinking. And when your brain is thinking that, when your brain is going through that process of, okay, let's hold on to fat, let's burn muscle for energy, let's stop producing milk because, hey, that costs energy. I don't have the energy to produce milk. Let's stop it. So that's why we have to make sure we're eating enough. When you work one-on-one with me, I'm going to calculate your energy needs and then figure out how much you actually need per day to be able to maintain your muscle mass, to recover postpartum, to lose fat postpartum after a certain period of time, and to produce milk and to keep your milk supply up. That's what I'm going to help you with. Let's do a quick recap. Number 1, supply and demand. Number 2, stress management. Number 3, hydration and electrolytes. We gotta stay hydrated. We need that fluid and those minerals. Number 4 is enough energy. We need to eat enough to be able to support our physical body, our mental body, as well as to produce enough milk. Number 5 is healthy fats. Postpartum, especially within the first 3 to 9 months, it is not the time to skimp out on fats. It's not the time to say, hey, I'm going to lose my baby weight. I'm going to reduce all fats. I'm going to decrease my calories and then try to breastfeed. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to do that. We actually need healthy fats for milk production. It's going to help with baby's brain development, cognitive nervous system development, and it's also going to help with satiety, staying satisfied longer. Some fat sources include nuts, seeds, avocado, olives, olive oil, avocado oil, coconut, fatty meat, fatty fish. Your fats are going to contain so many nutrients. It's also going to help you absorb your fat-soluble vitamins, your vitamins A, D, E, and K. Without fat, we can't absorb those vitamins, and that's important. And then your baby needs fat. It needs omega-3s, your DHA, your EPA, to be able to help with cognitive function, brain development, nervous system development. So we have to eat enough fat. This is not the time to decrease fat. You can add coconut flakes to your oatmeal. You can add coconut oil instead of avocado oil if you wanted to. If you want to change things up a bit, you can totally do that. Listen to episode 9. This is where I explain how to build a balanced plate, and I talk about the different components of a healthy and balanced plate, and fat is one of them. And I go into way more detail. So we got to get in those healthy fats. That's going to be really important. We have to have the energy and we have to get in more fats. Luckily, fat has a lot of energy, so that's nice. Number 6, the final thing I want you to think about are supportive supplements. We may need to add in supportive supplements to help with our milk supply or maybe to help in other areas. Maybe it's energy, maybe it's to get in enough protein, maybe it's to help increase fat or omega-3 fatty acids like fish oil. But there are specific supplements on the market that you may have seen that are going to be helpful for producing milk, and research is limited. Fenugreek is one that you're going to see in a lot. I want you to be careful with fenugreek, especially if you have thyroid dysfunction, if you're on thyroid medication, because sometimes it can be contraindicated with those hypothyroid, hyperthyroid, or any other type of thyroid dysfunction. And then especially if you're on any other types of medications, fenugreek can be contraindicated. So that's something to discuss one-on-one with me or with your healthcare provider. It is very common in lactation support supplements, so that's something to look at in the ingredient list. Is there fenugreek? Fennel is another one that's going to help milk supply. It's also really helpful for digestion. Blessed thistle is an herb. I don't want you to get this confused with milk thistle. They're totally different. Blessed thistle is used to support milk production, gastric acid, which you need to be able to digest your food, and saliva. Blessed thistle is going to be in some supplements to help with milk supply and stimulate breast milk production. Milk thistle, although it is commonly used for liver and gallbladder ailments or to help support the liver and detoxification, milk thistle can also be used to stimulate breast milk production. So you will see milk thistle in some of the supplements as well, and it's also highly anti-inflammatory. Ginger, another amazing herb. It's highly anti-inflammatory, it supports digestion, and it can help with milk supply. Raspberry leaf, as well as alfalfa. So you're going to see some of these herbs, if not all of them, or kind of a combination of some of them mixed in some of the supplements to be able to help with milk supply and milk production. If you decide to take any of these supplements and you're not focusing on the foundation, so supply and demand, staying hydrated, working on stress, eating enough, then this may not work for you. You really have to focus on those foundations and then add in supplemental support as needed. In the newsletter, if you're on my newsletter, you're going to be getting all this information in your inbox, and you're going to be able to see clickable links for you to check out some different supplements. But I do recommend specific brands. I really like Earthly. They're one of my affiliates because the product that they have to help with milk production, it doesn't have fenugreek in it. And so a lot of people, they may not be able to take fenugreek, as I mentioned, and so that can be a really good one to take. So let's do a quick recap. What are the 6 things that you need to know to keep your milk supply strong as a breastfeeding mama? Meet with a lactation consultant to help with that supply and demand. We have to have that demand to get that supply. I know it's hard. I know it's time consuming. It takes a lot of time, but you can do it. Number 2 is stress management. We have to decrease stress and manage it as much as possible to be able to help with that prolactin production, to help with milk flow and milk production and that letdown. Some things that you can do to help before you breastfeed, before you pump: put the electronics away, sit in a quiet place, do some deep breathing, do something that's relaxing to help with that milk letdown and that flow. Number 3 is hydration and electrolytes. We have to drink more fluids. We have to spread it out throughout the day, and we need to add in electrolytes. Number 4, enough energy. If we are not eating enough, your body is going to stop producing milk because that costs energy, and you need the energy, you need the calories to be able to feed your baby, to produce milk, and especially to store milk for the future. Number 5, healthy fats. Add in nuts, seeds, olives, avocados, fatty meat like chicken thigh, fatty fish like salmon. You're going to get lots of protein. You're also going to get that healthy fat to help support milk supply and to help you absorb those fat-soluble vitamins, vitamins A, D, E, and K. And then number 6, last but not least, supportive supplements, herbs that can be helpful to produce milk. Just make sure that you meet one-on-one with me or a healthcare provider to be able to make sure that this is something that will be okay for you to take, especially if you're on medications. Don't forget to join my newsletter to get all this information in your inbox. If you need more one-on-one support, schedule a coaching session with me, and please share this episode with a mom friend who is wanting to breastfeed or who is currently breastfeeding, and I will see you guys next week. Hey mama, I hope you loved today's episode. If it resonated with you, would you please take 30 seconds to share it with another mom, a mom who's looking to make healthy eating and exercise easier? Because we need that. And if you haven't yet, I would be so grateful if you could leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts. It truly means the world to me and helps the show reach more amazing moms like you. All right, time to chase my toddler around. Stay strong and nourished, and I will be back on Monday with another episode. Talk soon.